Hey guys, Thomas the Jr. here, aka Mustached Tom, here to review the movie Pray for the Devil. If you end up enjoying this full review, then please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. Also, be sure to check out those links in the description. One will head you over to my petition to help out smaller YouTubers, second and third to my Patreon and PayPal where you can help support me and my channel directly, and fourth to my Discord server where you can join and collab and share your content there also. Shilling will be reminded at the end of the review. With all that out of the way, let's get into Pray for the Devil. So the reason why I'm reviewing this movie that came out on Halloween is because I did not hear any trailer stuff for it whatsoever, but I did come across it now, so I haven't seen any reviews or anything of that nature either. So I decided to, give it a watch, and here's my review. So it's that simple. And of course to be as objective as possible. With all that out of the way, let's get into it. So, the movie begins with a young girl named Annie, who we see get told from the older version of her that was abused by her mother. And this other woman, her psychiatrist, explains how the mother was dealing with schizophrenia. However, Anne accepts this, but in addition claims that there was something else, something other in her. The movie then proceeds to give us some dates, that being 1835, where exorcisms were first brought into the realm of exorcisms, I guess, and 2018 is when the exorcisms ramped upwards. And surprisingly, that sounds very current. Anyway, so as we cut to our first little scene, after this little text, we see a older Anne enter this exorcism church school, where we see this man say that people's hearts haven't changed, and that we also see her encounter someone else who says that that the times have changed in the dealings of exorcisms, and now one of the people who work there is to make sure that it isn't getting mixed in with something like schizophrenia or any number of mental illnesses, not to to part those two things, because beforehand there could have been a separation between diagnosis and an actual possession, is what she kind of puts out there. So Anne, being a participant, sees this young girl named Natalie, and she gets, after her little visit, starts to get some spooky vibes, seeing seeing a girl through the window, like in a different position than she was, hearing her voice called in the hallway, and then seeing Natalie again out in the hallway, and guides her back to the room as she hears more voices. She follows them and ends up in a lecture hall where this priest guy, the father guy, says that God and the Bible are like their weapons in the terms of exorcism. And we learned here that only males can participate in actual exorcisms, which, by all accounts, at least all the exorcism movies I've seen, from my recorded memory, I think all of that's true, technically speaking. Like, every time you see an exorcism be performed, it's always like two men doing it. That seems to be, and again, my memory could be misserving me, but, and again, if there is an exception out there that isn't this movie, then please feel free to let me know in the comments. Anyways, point being is that it's a very segregated system, as it were. Anyway, so one of the elder sisters, the higher nun, tries to place Anne back in her place, but she still persistent in her desire to help in the bigger tasks. So she's cut away to her watching this old man as he begins humming a familiar tune to her, which we see it sort of vibe into her mother's voice. We see this being shown after the fact, this little video recording of this event playing out for the priest and the father as well, the older priest, like the head of the church, I guess. And we also learn that the girl was moved to a different location. The father character tells our lead that Lucifer was once a bringer of light, or an angel. Now, I used to be religious, but I lacked a lot of clarity, and I've never really dug that deep into religion outside of going to church back in the day when I was a kid. So I actually did not know, legitimately, I did not know that Lucifer, at least according to this movie, used to be an angel. And then fell into the darkness, or whatever, however they put it. So we see the young girl crawl on the back of the wall, so it's a very clear position. And then she has worms coming out of her hands, and the lead priest leads in after the other two priests, like these practice priests, are there in the room with her trying to do the exorcism. Anne joins in and is able to calm her down, this young girl, so that they're able to, at least for the time, calm the demon down. After their little break, the trio that were in there, except for the father, talk about that experience and how they were, as far as they are concerned, successful. So she decides to head back in alone and sees her mom very briefly, but then it's gone. But she's grabbed and awakened in a Friday night nightmare. After that, Anne visits Natalie, in which she is told things about her experience, to what she can understand at least. Anne gets help from another priest, one of the ones that were in the room, named Dante, who wants her help specifically for a very specific exorcism, so he helps her do some research. She finds in this little revelation that one person was at least released, everyone else was killed after checking the tapes. And even saw that despite the woman who lived, her face was broken beyond belief. So she does not like the little girl's chances, is essentially where this is going, obviously. So it cuts back to her youth throughout the movie, and this is one of those instances. She confronts, after the fact, the father who's been sort of guiding her along the way, and he's like trying to warn her to not go above and beyond her duties, and he's kind of like in between of like, he kind of wanted to initially help her, but is also like saying like, be very cautious of how far you're willing to step, essentially. So he's sort of the in-between moderator, I guess is the best way of putting it. And after she leaves, Dante wants to help with the girl. But they go to the sister first. And so they do it. They go to do a unsanctioned exorcism on his sister. And they assume that they free the sister. And we see her, and later on, see her mom for another moment, briefly, and then brushes her own hair, and she's freaking out because that's what initiated her beginning of abuse, was the yanking of the hair. Then she's in the bathroom, and a bizarre scene happens where she looks in the mirror and she's looking at her eyeball like it's all white and stuff, and she pulls at it, and she pulls out a string out of her eyeball. It's definitely creepy imagery, I suppose, as there's also a shadowy figure behind her. We then learn, unfortunately, that the sister killed herself, so they failed, apparently. She feels so down that she's like, oh, well, I need to go back. I should just go back to the sisterhood. So she does. And Dante, and she's told by her psychiatrist that Natalie went home. However, when she leaves, Dante gets there and warns her that she fell back into a panic and deeper possessions were happening. She gives her this crest, or Jesus symbol, that she recognizes as the ones that she gave her daughter, because she exposes that information to us. So she puts two and two together that this little girl she's been looking after is her own daughter. And so she's desperate to help her even more so now than ever before. So the two of them head in, where Raymond, the other guy that went in with them on the trio hunt, as well as these other two random ones that are already there, to help Natalie. But Natalie is too strong as she breaks the chains and kills Raymond in the process. But Anne steps up, with her guilt all a burden. And she tells the demon to take her over. So Dante tells the little girl to hide now that she's freed, and Anne is the one now possessed, fighting the demon as much as she potentially can. She gets plunged into the water, this holy water, and after that is freed herself through fighting it on her own volition. We cut to her in the hospital, and thus she becomes the first female exorcism, and at least in 7 centuries worth of time, apparently. There's one other one, at least as this movie tells us. And we see her give her daughter away, essentially, or that sort of vibe. So she goes off into the streets in this taxi, and as the taxi stops, she sees this woman standing there, very sus-like. Then, as she looks on, the door closes, and she sees that the voices of the head taxi driver has changed, and that there's now a third person on her right, and she brings out her cross, but that is where the movie cuts off. And that was Pray for the Devil. I am often a easy fan of exorcism movies. I think they're pretty neat oftentimes. Well, a lot of the times. I think there has been a few fallings that I've pointed to here and there on my channel already. So this isn't anything new to me. So every trick in the book, I'm fully aware of at this point. The crawling on the walls, the spinning of the head, all the old techniques. Some of them are used here. I like the little add-on of the family tie that they put in here, tying that together, which isn't something I was expecting. So they did a little bit of a refreshing thing while also like saying like, hey, you know, we can change the church and get with the times, I guess. Seems to be the other point of the movie. So yeah, pretty okay, I guess. I'd probably give it like a, like a 6 out of 10, I guess. Or maybe even a 7, I'm not sure exactly where I would nail this one exactly. I'm trying to think if there's any issues, technically speaking, and I'm having trouble thinking of any of them off the top of my head. So I'll just leave it there, like a 6 or a 7, somewhere in between there. And that's my full review of Pray for the Devil. If you have been enjoying it, then please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. Also, make sure to check out those links in the description. One will head you over to my petition, to help out solid YouTubers, second and third to my Patreon and PayPal, and fourth to my Discord server. Any and all donations are greatly appreciated. And until next time, everyone, bye-bye!